Hello, everyone. I'm Shilpi. And before we begin this video, because it's gonna be a long video, so before we begin this video, let me put a couple of disclaimers. Uh, I have never taught this before or never made a video of this before. So I am technically brainstorming or brain dumping, thinking as I go, thinking as I make this video. So bear with me. I might just change my thought. I might just iterate over things. Uh, I have an interesting idea and I want to develop it. So that's what I'm going to do in this video, mind mapping for my own self, if I may say that. It's going to be a long video, you are warned. I'm going to try to make it as amusing for myself and you as possible, but this is just me in a long video teaching a couple of things, which may or may not be useful to you. I think it will 100% be useful to me. So, these are all disclaimers. I'm Shilpi. It's going to be a long video. I'm going to be teaching something which I've never taught before. Technically, I'm not an expert either. And it's just me trying to mind map myself. And I think it will be useful for myself. I hope it's useful for you. So, if it is, please send me a message, drop a comment, hit like, subscribe. I'm not saying it because I want like subscribe, like, subscribers exactly, because I have like 10. I'm saying this so that I know if this is useful, and then in case it is useful, I'm going to be making more of such videos. It's going to be a signal, a feedback for me. So just think of it like that. All right, so let's get into it. Today I'm going to be talking about human or personal skills. Human or personal skills, right? I'm going to add another word here, interaction skills. So, human personal interaction skills. Now, you may think that I'm talking about human to human talking, interaction, communication. I am, but not only this. I'm talking about you communicating to yourself and you interacting with yourself as well. So, it's not just interpersonal skills, but it's also intrapersonal skills. So, just clarifying here, it means inter plus intrapersonal skills, interaction skills that we are talking about. Interaction skills. All right, so I'm actually going to write it here, inter/intra human personal interaction skills. This is what we are going to be talking about today in this video. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so we said human or personal interaction skills. Now let's pick up the word interaction from here, right? What do we mean by interaction? What types of interactions are there? Do we control these? All those things come into play. It's a broad word, right? So, interaction. Before I begin this, I will say there are two types of interactions which are mutually exhaustive. There's intentional interaction and there is non-intentional interaction, right? Now intentional interaction and non-interaction intentional, actually it's not interaction, it's intentional. Non-intentional versus intentional interaction. Intentional, obviously, like I'm not giving you any points to guess that it has an intent or it has an intent, or how, like, I don't know the difference between intent and intent, but it has an intent attached to it. So there is a purpose, right? This is what this intentional interaction means, and non-intentional is like you just I'll give examples to explain the difference between the two. Let's say you stumble upon somebody, you run into somebody, right? That is a non-intentional interaction because you did not plan for it. You don't want anything from them, they don't want anything from you. So this is like a non-intentional interaction. The intentional interaction would be you set up a meeting, you ask somebody to grab a coffee, you meet a friend. All of these are intentional interaction. as we were like when we were kids, we would have more of, non-intentional interaction, and as adults we have more intentional interaction. So as we grow, like this is kid, this is adult, this is adult, so this is like a grown adult, right? Like bear with me. So the kid usually, like as we grow, like let's say the kid would have 80% non-intentional interaction, and an adult would have like say 10% non-intentional interaction, right? Because as you grow your time, you realize that you have a lot of responsibilities, you can't keep having non-intentional interaction all the time. But as kids we waste our time 80% on playing or doing things which there's no intent or there's no purpose to a lot of those things, we just passively do it. So this is like more like, let's say, passive interaction, and this is more like active interaction, right? We make it happen, we are just part of it because of serendipity here on the non-intentional part, right? So there are two types. Now you might say that me catching up with friend, is that intentional interaction or not? I would say that is an intentional interaction. Now whether you know what is the intent or not, it doesn't matter, but like generally in our minds there is something why we meet. It could be as easy as you're meeting with the intention to relax or have fun or just chill, or that is your intent. So intent, if you know the intent very clearly or not, is does not matter. I think everything that you make happen, which doesn't happen just by serendipity or universe, is an intentional interaction. All right, so that's a good to capture thing. Now let's move on to other bits of it, right? Interaction. We talked about intentional and non-intentional. Let's focus on intentional for now. All right, let's not focus on non-intentional. Let's focus on intentional interaction for now. Now interaction can be of multiple different kinds, right? One is you know verbal interaction, one is written interaction, one is physical interaction, one is actions, like your actions speak a lot sometimes, right? uh, what else was I thinking earlier? I think I thought about this a little bit. Okay, verbal interaction is what you say, what you don't say. I'm highlighting not say. Like what you not say is also part of verbal interaction. Verbal interaction is what you say, what you don't say. Written interaction is, all your messages, all the things that you write, everything. Physical interaction is like cues or things like, touching your hair, kissing somebody, hugging somebody, all of those, are physical interaction. Actions is like, let's say I bring you roses or something, like, I do something. So action is like doing what you do something to interact with somebody. So, you do things. So this is like four types of ways that people interact, either with themselves or with others. You might ask, how do you do actions with them yourself, right? Like hundreds of way. You take care of your body, that's an action. You are interacting with your own self. It's basically these things, right? Four things here. Now, to understand communication a little bit in depth, or not communication, sorry, to understand interaction a little bit in depth, uh, I would say let's focus on the major thing here. We said, I'll go back up and say that we define interaction now. Now let's define human or person, right? Human or person. This is the core of everything, honestly. So let's focus on, two people. Let's not focus on a group. Let's not focus on, let's say, a stand-up comedy video where you have to or interact with an audience. Let's focus on two people, right? It could actually be one person also, because you are always interacting with yourself. But for now, let's just focus on this person and this person, right? Let's say this is a source and this is a receiver, right? So it means that this person is saying something or doing something, or this person is passing on some visual cues, things like these, right? So this, like, the flow is like this, right? And then the source, the receiver could become source. So, like, receiver could send it back, could say something back, write something back, things like that. So yeah, so there are two ones, like in intrapersonal, source and receiver is the same person, so you talk to yourself, right? That is intrapersonal. So but there is like a source and there is a receiver. It could be the same thing, it could not be. The receiver could become the source, or not, depends, right? So there are two things, source and receiver, right? When we talk about humans, right? So human interaction, human beings are the source, human beings are the receiver, right? So you have to realize that human beings are there at the end of the day, right? So what it means is, let's say two humans are interacting. There is human one, there is human two, right? Now, human one and human two, let's say they have certain characteristics, right? Age, gender, or if they don't identify with a gender, they have age, gender, experiences over like spanning this age, uh, failures. These are all facts. Failures, successes. By failures, I meant like not, it cannot be a fact. It's more like, what the world considers a failure, what the world considers a success, how the world thinks that they look, right? So all of these are like, this is all like human one's uh, context or background, or whatever you may say. This is the persona, or whatever, like, you may say. This is all human, comes with their own, past. So this is all human past, or like present, who the person is, identity. I can't throw enough words here, but it's basically, who is this person, who kind of question, like, who. It depends on a lot of things, what. And then this person, again, like, same thing goes for this person, who they are, what's their age, what's their gender, what do they do, how successful they are to the world, how they look to the world, what is their identity, what background do they have, what challenges, motivations, dreams, things which trigger them, things which make them angry, emotions, a lot of things. Human beings are complicated, a lot complicated. So it's very difficult to, list down all properties of a human being, but this all is like, there in humans, and, essentially source and receiver that we have, right? Now, to interact successfully, I'm now calling it a successful interaction, or a failure of an interaction, right? So bear with me while I do this. To interact successfully, or like, I don't have a definition right now. I think let's not call it successful or failure interaction. To interact with a person uh, in a healthy manner, like, which may, fulfill your intention, because we talked about intention already. So okay, let me make this thought a little better for you. uh, so to have an interaction which fulfills your intention and other person's intention, tension. Let's say you caught up with a friend after long, for half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, and you had very nice time with them, and your intent was to relax and chill. So was their intent, and you both were fulfilled your intent, and both were successful. So I would say this is a case of healthy interaction, right? And then there is unhealthy interaction, which is where one person or the other person is not happy with the interaction, not like feeling like their intent was fulfilled here. right? So this is an unhealthy, like either of the two people. It could be like you yourself also, but it's basically like if the intention, whatever intention each person had with that interaction is not fulfilled, is unhealthy interaction. If you scale it up to a group, let's say the audience all came to have fun, but the source or the human whose speaker is not engaging everybody. So it's, for somebody it's unhealthy, somebody it's healthy, because some people are happy because their intent was fulfilled, and then other people were not happy because their intent was not fulfilled. It could be because of whatever reasons, internal, external, other humans, non other humans. It could be just because, like, let's say somebody came to open mic stand up comedy and with a date, and they were hoping that the date would go okay, but it did not go okay just because of some other reasons, external reasons, and they end up having not a good time, and that was their intent, to have a good time with their date, which they did not. So there, for them, it was like a bad interaction or a bad event in general. So let's not like go into a lot of abstraction there. Let's get specific here. So healthy interaction and unhealthy interaction. Healthy interaction is when everybody fulfills their intent. Unhealthy is when one or the more than one person doesn't fulfill their intent. That is unhealthy, right? Interaction. Now, what is needed to have healthy interaction? Any guesses? What do we need to have healthy interaction? Going back to the model, this is a person, this is another person. It's needed for this person to have enough understanding of the other person. I'm using another term here called understanding. Now, this person needs to have enough understanding of the other person to have a healthy interaction with them. Now, how much, what do we mean by enough? What is enough understanding, right? That's a valid question. That's a very valid question. Humans cannot understand themselves fully, or can, and also cannot take this as a universal law that you cannot understand yourself fully, you cannot understand other people fully. It's just, you discover with time, other person also discover with time. That's how you grow relationship and understanding of a person. So there's no, like, there's never like a full understanding. You will never understand yourself or other person 100%, never ever that will happen. So don't don't pursue 100% understanding, but depending on your intention, there is a threshold understanding which is required, right? So let's say if this is your friend, right, and your intention is to have fun or relax, you need to have basic understanding about what is going on in their lives. Are they okay with their jobs, partners, money, or do they have burning problems, kind of understanding, where they come from, like, like what would offend them generally, or things that would make them angry. So this is all, like, part of your understanding about your friend. Let's say if you want to catch up with them and just relax, so first you need to understand what is happening in their lives to do that. So it's that's what we call understanding. When, let's say, your intent is to marry a person, right? Your intent is to then this understanding becomes a little different and more, maybe, like, you need to. So the question becomes, or the decision becomes, like, the decision becomes, do you know them enough to, like, comfortably predict that you'll be happy with them for a long time? That is what your intent is, like, with that kind of thing. So it's essentially, you have to build an understanding of a person. Now, what do I mean when I say understanding of a person? So it translates into a lot of things. Like, a lot of times, a lot of brands say know your audience, right? So collective understanding of audience, like what does the audience want, what are their motivations, what do they like, what do they dislike, what will trigger them to be angry, what will cause them to be sad, how to evoke their emotions, what will cause them hurt, things like that comes into understanding a person, and collectively many people as well. uh, so this is one of the most important part. Oftentimes a lot of our interactions are non-meaningful and useless and unfulfilling, unhealthy, because of the fact that we don't understand the other person. And it's extremely difficult to understand ourselves or other people. It's scrutiny, it's like observing them. How do you, like, now let's talk about how do you understand a person. You observe them, you be around them, you ask them. All of these are ways to build an understanding of the person. You So observation is the, like, truest way to understand a person, because the thing is, a person might not even understand themselves to say it to you, right? Like, I might not understand myself enough to tell you who I am. So it's humans are okay. Before we go into this, let's say humans are multidimensional. This is just three dimensional. Humans are multidimensional. They cannot be represented by a sentence. They cannot be represented on a verbal format. They cannot be represented by the actions that they do. They cannot be represented by all the four things that we talked about, right? Like, what were the four things we talked about here? Where was it? Yeah. So humans cannot be represented by like what they say, what they don't say. They cannot be represented by what they write, what they don't write. They cannot be represented by uh, physical interaction, like what they do, what cues they pass, what cues they don't pass. They cannot be like, the most accurate way out of these four might just be actions, but still, like, what they do, what they don't do. Like, if you don't understand the context behind the action, you'll always question who the human being is. Like, why are they doing this? They might be doing something out of care, and you might read it wrong. So it's very difficult to map a human being to anything. They are like humans are multi-dimensional. There's so much going on. It's impossible for anybody, including themselves, to understand all the dimensions that they have. uh, Now I'm gonna plug in a light line from Jab We Met. There's a line where they are in the ganne ke khet, and Shahid Kapoor goes like, he speaks in Punjabi, and then Kareena Kapoor asks, uh, तुमने कहाँ से सीखी इतनी अच्छी पंजाबी? एंड इज लाइक कि साड़ी मॉम पंजाबी है. एंड देन लाइक फिर इट्स लाइक लाइक तूने तो देखा ही नहीं है मेरे सारे रंग, आगे आगे देख. सो इट्स लाइक बेसिकली शी इज गेटिंग टू नो हिम. एंड इट्स लाइक शी लाइक्स व्हाट शी सीज, राइट? सो एसेंशियली so many dimensions to a person, so many things that you don't know about them, and they don't know about themselves. So it's difficult to build an understanding. So the more time you spend observing them, observing what they say, what they don't say, not judging them. So observe, not judge. If there's something which doesn't fit your intuition, like if they do something out of character, right? Ask clearly. Like, that is called communication between people. So observe, don't judge. If there's something which they do out of your build an understanding of them. Like, if they go in a separate direction of your understanding. So let's say if somebody brings me flowers, right? I don't like flowers, but they brought me flowers, right? So they don't understand me completely, but I understood that they care about me, or they care about how they look, or they care about something, like why, that's why they spent enough time or money to buy flowers, right? So they care of something, about something, right? The more you observe them, the more like indicators you get to understand them. And then if they do three things to impress you or care about you, that it matters to them, that how, what you think. It matters to them what you think. It doesn't matter like if you like flowers or not. It matters to them what you think. So it's it's an important indicator there. So what you just do is observe them as person. Don't pass judgment that they are good or bad, or they did the right thing or the wrong thing. So don't put labels, because it's impossible to classify people into labels. So just observe, take some time, build an intuition, build a understanding of the person. If they go out of character, like let's say if suddenly, like, you build an understanding that they care about what you think, right? That's what your understanding says. Now, okay, okay, stop it. Okay, what is this app? Okay, so yeah, anyway, then I'm in a good flow right now. So then kind of build an understanding of that person, and if they go out of character, now, let's say if there are caring people, but suddenly they stopped caring about everything, there's something wrong going on. Now, you cannot directly say that they're bad people suddenly, or it's just that you need to ask them. Simple. Like sometimes you don't know, like, since humans are so complicated, there might be something going on in their mind which you're not aware of. You're making an assumption there, something like, but don't do that. Ask, be clear about it. This is what good communication in human beings say. If they're going out of character, if they're being more angry than they usually are, if they're being less caring than they usually are, if they're being less kind, there's something going on with them. Maybe if they're repeatedly doing the same thing and you don't know what's going on. Okay, I've spoken a lot today. I think I should speak tomorrow. Okay, I'll leave you guys be with this, or leave myself be with this. We'll continue this thought and line of thought later, but we'll only continue recording the video if I get some feedback that this was useful at all. If this was, I'm gonna record the video. If not, I'm gonna still do it because I think this was useful for me, and I should like spend half an hour, 1 hour to just uh, do this. It's interesting. Once in a while, like not every day, but once in every week. Okay, now I'm just rambling. All right, I'll hopefully I'll receive some feedback on this. Let's see.